Alrighty, what's going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys, so we had a big gap down today, big move down, followed by a big intraday recovery. Now, I'm just going to point out that we have gap down the last 3 sessions here. I doubt we're going to get a fourth gap down here. We have, gap down here, recovered, gap down here, recovered, gap down here, recovered. Now, I will point out we have bigger and bigger gap downs taking place here. Is tomorrow going to be a 2% gap down after, what do we have, 1.6? No, you had 1% there, and then 1.6 today. That is pretty crazy stuff. But either way, I do want to just say they do continue buying these dips, and that is definitely something to be noted. At the end of the day, I know no one wants to hear it, but nothing has changed here. I am definitely going to point out throughout this video here, okay, how honestly things are probably just going to be recovering from here. That is probably going to be the case. If we do end up coming back down to the low, guys, anytime VIX's daily RSI gets up here, the thing gets slammed within 1 to 2 sessions. You know, it was all the way up at 70 today at the high, and you actually had the weekly RSI also sitting up here near 67 today, which is telling you either this week or next week, volatility is going to top out here. It's just how it goes. And unless you have a market crash, which was COVID 2020 over there in, February to March, and unless we are going to experience an event like that, we're not going to see this thing stay elevated. So, I mean, I talk about puzzle pieces in my videos. We're here connecting the dots, putting the puzzle piece together. VIX, whenever it gives us one of these hints here, it's something you should take seriously every single time. If it spikes, it does not stay elevated. If it gets above 67 on the daily RSI within 1 to 2 sessions, okay, for years and years and years and years, we're talking 20 plus years, okay, it starts coming back down. 15 to 20% correction from the top within 1 to 2 sessions every time that condition pops up. That's what you expect. Okay, and that's what we had today. I was hoping they would close it out, with VIX, closing out near the highs, so we can actually print one of these extremes. But just like they did yesterday, they slammed it back down today. Okay, because we are having these big gap downs, and then you're seeing these big recoveries. That is what's causing this to form like that, to print like that. All right, now you swept the key level today, and you started seeing buyers, and all of a sudden we are back above that weekly 21 EMA. We're hanging on by a thread. But I will point out DIA, weekly 21 EMA, IWM, weekly 21 EMA, SPY, hanging on by a thread. And then you have QQQ over here, which it's either going to have a full-on recovery start up this week, or we're coming back down to the lows, and you're probably going to start seeing that recovery take place by next week. That's that. It's Tuesday. We have 3 more sessions on the week, guys. But it is honestly as simple as if we do move up past this 21 EMA, okay, you get past this area at 610 right here, you're probably at that point going to push 616.83. At that point, okay, you're clearing this area, and you're coming up here where you're getting all these reactions, okay? So pretty simple stuff. From here, you're either looking for this action right here. Okay, so these are the 2 bullish scenarios. Either you reject here, come into the 21, find buyers there, and then, take it off from there. Or you're just going to keep going from there. Or you're going to reject on this bounce here. You're going to reject these short-term moving averages. And in the short term here, we're talking next 1, 2 sessions, we're probably going to come back down by end of week and close out with a bearish candlestick. And I would imagine if we continue selling before a bounce next week, then we are going to have the sell at the start of the week, and then sometime in the middle of the week, or even at the beginning of the week after the sell, we're going to see an intra-week reversal. And you have a, reversal candlestick print. All right, those are really the scenarios I'm seeing right now, which, one is downside is pretty limited at that point. Okay, and we're going to keep seeing what we've been seeing, which is VIX spikes and it gets crushed because it does not want to print up here. All right, it does not, because again, it doesn't last up there, so they're definitely controlling this. But yeah, we see that happen, or we are just going to the VIX just continue getting crushed here over the coming sessions. Going to lose the short-term moving averages. We'll see SPY and QQ get back above their daily 21s. QQ has a really clean chart for this. We're going to see this action right here. You're going to test this area. If you get through it, you're back up here. At that point, we're pretty close to the highs. I'm not saying you go to the highs. I'm not saying you break down. I'm saying we still have not gone anywhere. And odds are you're just going to keep printing these oversold conditions over here in SPY and QQ. All right, 4-hour RSI over here on SPY at the low. Guess what? It was oversold. It was in the same spot for 11 months now. I pointed out the other day on this channel. 11 months, okay? Every time the 4-hour RSI has been oversold, you are finding buyers within, really that same session. In the short term, you're bouncing back. That is how this game has been played for months and months and months, about a year, okay? Ever since this big sell over here ended. All right. So we'll see how this goes in the short term, but just know that nothing really has changed. Now, that being said, I got a really nice trade idea for you guys today. Okay, something fresh on your radar that I am pretty excited about, and so should you be. Okay, there you go. But let's go over some levels over here now that we went over, the general outlook here for SPY and QQ. Again, we have a few scenarios to work with. We're either going to reject these over the coming sessions, these short-term moving averages again on the daily time frame, the 9, the 21, or we get above them and we're probably going to continue that bounce. We probably continue it. Look at it this way. If they don't slam SPY down, we have another week where we held this weekly 21 EMA. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 out of the last 7 candlesticks have a lower wick stemming from this area. What is that telling you? All right, like they are continuing to hold it. Like it's probably not going to be the action we see before the thing rolls over. It's probably what you have right over here. I don't know if we're going to find another spot. We have really unique action right now. We're finding buyers are over here in this area. Well, eventually it just moves up because they can't bust it down. And that's that. All right. So just to clarify and reiterate what we have going on here, that is it. As far as levels go, let's go over them. On the upside, on SPY, we have 682.61. Above there, you got the 21 EMA between 686 and 687. If you get above there, you have 690. On the downside, we have 678.13, 675.79, then 671.20, which is that level you swept this morning. If you make it back down there, you're probably going to continue selling for the time being. We finally probably going to see a VIX spike there. Hold, okay? And SPY would probably see this action right here, and I am guessing you will find buyers somewhere around 660 if this is going to be the case. All right, so that's what I'm going to be watching. All right, so downside 678.13, 675.79, 671.20, 0.618 fib, right around 669, and then we have 661.21 if things get real hairy, but that's not going to happen. We're not going to get a 20-point sell tomorrow. It's very unlikely we do, and if it does, it's kind of a capitulation kind of sell, just like something like that. Something like that, something like that, something like that. That's what we would be expecting. Something like this that gets bought up pretty quick. There you go. All right, there's SPY. Coming over here to QQQ, this is going to be the NASDAQ. On the downside, we have 597.99, 593.34, 591.87, which was today's low, and then 589.05. On the upside, we're talking today's high at 603.96, and then you have that key area here, these moving averages. All right, which, have been giving us a bunch of reactions, over the past few weeks. And honestly, we've been dancing around them for months. Okay, but we have had some clean reactions to this area, in the recent weeks here. Okay, but, we're really talking anywhere between 607 and 610. Expect sellers there. You get above 610.15, we're talking 616.83, baby. And at that point, we already talked about it, where you're looking at this scenario, or maybe it double tops here and you come back underneath and you start rolling over again. We don't know. Okay, take it as you go, or you get through here and you're at this next area. You're all the way up there. Okay, those are your levels over here on SPY and QQ. Now let's just go over real quick, guys. I'm just going to point out, Nvidia over here. it still can go either direction here. If the market keeps selling, no matter what, you are looking for buyers to be defending around 170 to 172, we're going to call it. Okay? You're going to expect that buyers defend. I can't tell you, I can't guarantee that price gets down there, but I am still hoping price is going to get down there. That being said, it's not a guarantee. If it does happen, though, all right, we have all of these occurrences here where we get a 10% plus move over the coming 1 to 2 weeks. There was one of those cases where it was only 7% move, but every other time, and I think we're talking like 18 at this point, 17 or 18 occurrences here, you end up seeing that over 10% move. All right, and I didn't include these guys right over here, but there were a few recently as well. This is something I've been playing for years. If it comes, it comes. There you go. Okay, but the other day, 4-hour RSI was oversold. If it comes back down into oversold territory, in the past, that second time it visits oversold territory, that is when it's actually going to start a larger bounce up. All right, either way, it's buyable. Okay, I'm just pointing out, if market does want to fall, it's Nvidia over here, big component. It's probably not going to be fall much further there. And if Nvidia is going to start finding buyers, QQ is probably not going to fall much further. That just supports what I was just going over there on Spine QQ. That's all I'm getting at there. Okay, but you're coiled up here. You want to be moving to the upside. All right, we're talking today's high, 180.90. Above there, 183.46. And then you have the 21 EMA at 185. All right. On the downside, 176.92, 174.64, and then we risk coming back down towards 170, baby. There you go. But I do just want to point out the Magnificent 7 stocks, guys. These are coiled up right now, and I'm just saying it looks like these things want to pop here in the short term. At least Meta does over here. Amazon, Microsoft, Google doesn't look bad. All right. But Meta over here coiled up around the 21 EMA. This is, about at this point, 2.5 weeks of consolidation. In this, we're just going to say most of the price action was contained 30-point range. Okay. Above 663, 35. That's your breakout level right there if it comes. Honestly, this thing might be heading up to 690 plus. Okay. There'll be your measure move out of this range. We'll see if it comes. But this is definitely something that I am paying attention to over here. And it's kind of something supporting that, hey, okay, if all these stocks are going to be moving up, then maybe QQ is just going to be continuing up there. And that's that. Okay. You got Amazon over here. Again, dips just continue getting bought. You closed out with the bullish engulfing candlestick today. You had a gap down the last 3 sessions here. I don't think they're going to do a fourth there. It would look pretty crazy if they did. And if you do gap down, I think it might just fail. And we get that VIX spike I was just talking about. I hope that would be the case and you get it over with. That would be nice. We just kind of know what comes next in the short term after that, if it comes. Okay. And that just makes things a lot easier. All right. But, at the end of the day, there are definitely going to be names moving in the market, no matter what Spine QQ and the broad market here, the Magnificent 7 stocks want to be doing. All right. There's definitely always going to be movement to be had. And I let you know about it ahead of time here on this channel. Okay, so I hope you guys are enjoying the content. All right. But yeah, on the upside, guys, you have 211.17 and then 212.81, which is right by the 21 EMA at this point. All right. It's taking a little bit longer to test that. If the market moves up, you're probably going to be doing so. Now, that being said, it also looks like this is a range that's probably just going to break up. You got a little double bottom going on, 8-point range going on above 211. All right, above 211.17. Who's to say this thing doesn't just complete that measure move and you come fill that gap 220.38? I'm not saying it's not going to do that. Okay, it looks to me like it's probably going to be doing that. It looks to me like it wants to test this weekly 9 EMA up near 217. All right, so that's Amazon over there. I just want to point out Microsoft 21 EMA test going on today. All right. Again, at some point, this thing stops. It stops falling. And this week, well, technically last week, but this week, you see the weekly RSI is now hinged up off oversold territory. This is the part where Microsoft actually starts recovering. I'm pretty sure. All right, and we're gonna look for this weekly 9 EMA test, currently up around 420, and that is Microsoft. Another name that's probably going to be moving up. I don't think you're going to get this thing moving out of oversold territory and then price is going to come back down. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case. All right. This is a condition. We have not had 4 oversold weeks ever on the weekly RSI. It's never happened. Okay. Over here on Microsoft, it's never been the case. So it's unprecedented what is happening right now. And at some point, this thing does get a snapback. And I do think software is, let's just look at it this way. CrowdStrike over here, some of these software names, they're probably going to test the weekly moving averages, and you still got a ways to go. I am guessing Microsoft is going to participate in this move, even though it's a Magnificent 7 stock. Okay, regardless, it's clear as day moving with that narrative. And weekly 9 EMA incoming. It's Microsoft. Okay, Google finding buyers still off of 297.45 support. Okay, second time in a 3-week period here where we are holding the line right there at 297.45. We'll see what happens here, but I'm just saying buyers are holding on, right where they would have to step in and hold the line here if they're going to keep it going. I'm not saying they're going to keep it going. I'm just pointing out this is where they do so. If not, like, you do probably start a larger move down here, and all of a sudden, all right, we're talking monthly 9 EMA at 280. Okay, almost 20 points lower than current price. Ways away. It's either it's do or die right here. We'll see if it holds, but yeah, honestly, we're at some key spots here, and we just as easily could be going up or down. And if we go down, it's not going to be much downside, is what I've been trying to make clear here. It's just no financial advice can be given. So we got to dance around the lines here. Okay. But yeah, it moves down, doesn't move down much more, gets bought. We already went over the scenarios. We don't need to talk anymore about them. Let's go over the individual tickers, guys. Let's talk about them. All right. First things first, again, market wants to move down. Nvidia top watch, top dip buy over there. Nvidia. Street's not going to keep you that cheap. It is not going to keep you that cheap, and they're not going to pay everybody out on the downside there. I do not think so. I'm not saying anybody, is loaded up on puts over here on Nvidia. I'm not saying that. But I am saying this is a very obvious pattern over here, and yeah, honestly, I know the market loves getting way too bearish too quick. And every time that I start seeing things like, oh, this didn't age well, ... that same exact session actually does end up aging well. And there's that. Now, that being said, I haven't been making a directional move here on SPY QQ in quite some time. So there is nothing to actually age bad. People just they don't stick around, I don't think, for the whole videos, or they listen to what they want. But, if they actually were to stick around for the whole videos, they would definitely see that I don't have a bias, and I'm here to make money, and you're here to make money. And at the end of the day, anyone with a different approach there, if you're not here to make money, like, you're in the wrong place. Okay. And yeah, you haven't been able to have a bias in months, and that's the case. Okay. It's still the case. Nothing has changed. Nothing's changed at all. Every dip has been bought. Every bounce has been sold. Nothing has changed at all. All right. Now getting into individual tickers here. GEV, we'll kick it off with GEV. We've been talking about this 21 EMA test. We knew the 9 EMA test were bringing buyers into the mix, and we talked about it. At some point, this 21 EMA test would come, and if the market was going to be making a new low there, like it did today, we're talking about how that's probably going to be aligned with GEV coming down to the 21 EMA, and we were expecting that to be bought up on that first test. Okay. That did get bought up. It did produce quite a big move. I know it's at 840, but intraday, that bad boy went all the way up to 860, okay? From 812 up to 860, guys. Just about a 45-point move there. There you go.
That was easy.
Okay, that was GEV here. And now this next one over here, guys, this is the one I was saying I was excited about. And I'm just letting y'all know, since inception, we got a stat over here. Since inception, all right, we have gotten this move. All right, this move has been produced over the coming 3 weeks. It's been 2.5 weeks, actually. I believe we had one occurrence here. One occurrence where it was 3 weeks there. You see 21 days. Okay, you see all the yellow lines. These are when you had a move up over the next 4 trading sessions. Yes, we're talking 4 trading sessions. We are genuinely saying that we have a stat here, 80% chance that we see this move we're about to talk about by next Monday, and we're going to talk about how to trade it. Okay. And I also do want to say, in the loving nature over here of Baba, I'm excited about Baba. If you guys would like to come trade with me, you can take 30% off of your first month using code BABA. This will be something that is playing out. We have 80% chance by next Monday, so you can use that code up until Monday there. But I just want to say this is something that is very likely going to be giving us this bounce back into that daily 9 EMA. That is going to be the target here in the short term, that 9 EMA. That does not mean it does not go higher. Okay, but over the next 3 sessions, this is really what I'm looking for. Again, 80% chance. Let's just count them out. You have 1, you have 2, you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, 12 occurrences. 2 occurrences of which, it's over an 80% chance, by the way. 2 occurrences, which the move did take longer than those 4 trading sessions past the day that the daily RSI hit where we did today. All right, so what I have marked out is all of these occurrences where the daily RSI got down there. Okay, and 10 of 12 of those, you had a 6%, at least a 6% bounce from that low over the next 4 sessions. Okay. The times where price did not immediately start bouncing back, and keep in mind, these are on the lower ends, okay? 6%, it does not mean we're only going to get a 6% bounce here by Monday. It means you have, an 80 something, I think it's 82, 83% odds, I believe that comes out to be. Again, since inception, okay? There's no cherry picking data. It's just, this is the data you have right here, okay? You have 80 something percent odds here that, a minimum of a 6% move up by next Monday happens. And most of these, okay, out of that 80%, we can see most of them went over 6%. You had 2, I think, that went 6%. All right. So that's really your worst case scenario. Your best case scenario, this thing's going to go flying into the 21 EMA around, we're about to get a 20-point move back up by Monday. Okay. That's your best case scenario. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that is best case scenario there. And let's just talk about in the scenario where this thing does not start recovering right away. Okay. This thing does not give you a, actually, let's look at this. You had almost a 6% bounce over the next 4 sessions, okay? At this point now, we have like 11 out of 12 of these occurrences where you just about at least got that 6% bounce by what would be next Monday. Solid shot, we are going to be visiting what we're going to talk about in a little bit by next Monday. Okay, so I just wanted to make this the focal point of the video today. It's something that doesn't last long. It lasts 1 to 2 sessions, these prices, pretty much every time except for one occurrence, which was recently. Well, it wasn't recently, but it was March 2023, coming out of your bear market. All right, your 2022 bear market. In this case, you continued falling over the next, you bottomed out a week and a half later, and then very quickly you sprung up. You had a 12% move, 11 to 12% move up within 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions, okay, making that low. And then, again, just keeping the stat alive here, okay? 26% over the next 3 weeks from that low where the daily RSI hit where we are today. All right, that is your worst case scenario, ladies and gents. Ladies and gents, who is ready for Baba? I am ready for Baba, okay? It's Baba time, baby. There you go. It's the Baba boys. They're about to be up. Okay, there you go. That's your worst case scenario. Okay. I am going to be averaging into calls if we start seeing that right there. Okay, you can take a initial position size. Okay, something to catch that. What's likely about to happen is you quickly snap back. You're probably quickly going to snap back. There is a slight chance there, okay? There is a 1 out of 12 chance, okay? What is that? A 7% chance, 7 or 8% chance there where you spend a week and a half basing out and then you launch up in an explosive manner off of said base. In this case, you have a chance to load up, all right? There you go. Bada bing, bada boom, all right? I will keep you updated on how this goes over the coming sessions. All right, but the stat is by next Monday, all right, very likely going to have this exact move right here up to at least 141, 142. We'll call it 141. Current price is 135.